I have a confession to make, and I feel like this is a safe space to share it.
Oh, absolutely. Go for it.
I am completely 100% addicted to the little red notification bubble on my phone.
Oh, yeah. You and everyone else.
Right. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You post a photo of your lunch or a witty observation about how bad traffic is, and then you just wait.
And you watch the screen.
Exactly. And when that bubble pops up, boom, instant gratification.
Yeah.
We all say it, right? We say, I just needed a little dopamine hit.
Yeah, the classic dopamine hit.
We treat dopamine like it's the brain's candy, like it's the pleasure molecule, the party drug inside our heads.
It is the most common story we tell ourselves about the brain. I mean, it's practically pop culture canon at this point.
Totally.
But it is also probably the most common misconception in all of neuroscience.
Yeah.
Honestly, if dopamine were just about pleasure, you wouldn't be able to walk across the room, let alone scroll through your feed.
See, this is why I love the Deep Dive Lab. We take something everyone thinks they know, and we completely dismantle it.
That's what we do.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we are looking at a stack of sources that is honestly mind-bending. We have landmark papers from Nature and Nature Neuroscience, including some really fresh data from 2025, and we're looking at work from giants like DeepMind, Harvard, and McGill University.
And the headline here is that we have been looking at dopamine all wrong for decades.
Decades.
Yeah, it isn't about feeling good. It is about prediction. And more specifically, it is about how your brain maps out the future.
And the part that really hooked me in this research, it turns out our brains might be using the exact same advanced algorithms as the world's most sophisticated artificial intelligence.
Right.
And we didn't even know it until a few years ago.
Exactly. We are going to explore something called the distributional code. It's a discovery that fundamentally changes how we understand risk, how we move, and even how we treat heavy-hitting conditions like Parkinson's and schizophrenia.
So let's unpack this. If dopamine isn't just the party molecule, what is it actually doing? Because, for the longest time, I thought the science was settled.
A lot of people did.
You get a reward, dopamine goes up. You don't get a reward, dopamine goes down. Simple as that, like a scorecard.
That is the classic view. And it isn't necessarily wrong, it's just incredibly incomplete.
Okay.
It's based on a concept called reward prediction error, or RPE. This has been the gold standard theory for years.
All right, RPE. Break that down for us, because error sounds like something went wrong.
Not quite. Think of it like this. You walk into your favorite coffee shop on a Tuesday morning, and you order your usual latte.
Right.
You have a very specific expectation of what is about to happen. You've done this 100 times.
Yeah, I expect caffeine, hot milk, and to magically wake up.
Exactly. So if the barista hands you the latte and it tastes exactly how you expect, your dopamine neurons actually stay pretty quiet.
Wait, really? But I like the latte. I'm getting what I want. Shouldn't the neurons be firing like crazy?
You would think so if it was a pleasure molecule. But under the RPE theory, there is no error in the prediction.
Oh, I get it.
You predicted a latte, you got a latte, flatline. The brain doesn't need to alert you to anything new. It's like watching a movie you've seen 1,000 times. You don't gasp at the plot twist.
So getting what I want is just boring to my dopamine receptors.
If you expected it, yes. But let's change the scenario. You order the latte, and the barista smiles and says, hey, the machine made an extra one by mistake, so this one is on the house, and here's a free chocolate croissant.
Okay, that is the best day ever. I'm buying a lottery ticket immediately.
And that is a dopamine spike. That is a positive prediction error.
Yeah.
The outcome was significantly better than the prediction.
So it's the surprise factor.
Exactly. Your brain lights up to say, this was unexpected and valuable, learn this pattern, do this again.
And I assume the opposite is true. Like if I drop my coffee...
Precisely. If you walk in and the coffee machine is broken or the coffee is cold, you get a negative prediction error. Dopamine activity dips below your baseline.
Ah.
This is the brain's way of saying, update the map, don't expect good things here next time.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a learning signal. It's teaching me how to navigate the world. So if that theory works so well, why are we tearing it down today? What's the problem with it?
The problem isn't that it doesn't happen. The problem is that the classic theory assumes all dopamine neurons are doing the exact same thing.
Like a monolith.
Yes. It treats the dopamine system like a single voice shouting the average value of what to expect. But relying on averages is dangerous.
Dangerous how? Like average height of a basketball player, dangerous.
More like life or death,
Yeah.
dangerous.
What?
Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you are hiking and you need to cross a river.
Okay.
I'm your guide. And I tell you, don't worry, the average depth of the river is only 3 feet.
I'd say, great, 3 feet is easy. I can walk across that without getting my shorts wet.
Exactly. You step in. But what if the average is 3 feet because the edges are 1 inch deep, but right in the middle, there's a 10-foot drop-off with a raging current?
Then I drown. And I'm very angry at my guide.
Precisely. The average hides the risk. If your brain only calculated the average value of a decision, you wouldn't be able to handle uncertainty.
You wouldn't know the extremes.
Right. You wouldn't know if a situation was a sure thing or a dangerous gamble. You treat a guaranteed $10 payout the exact same as a lottery ticket that averages out to a $10 payout, even though the risk profile is totally different.
And this is where the AI connection comes in, right? Because this stack includes a massive paper from Nature. This was published back in 2020 by Will Dabney, Matthew Buck-Vinnick, and the team at DeepMind in London.
This is one of those rare moments where computer science actually taught us something about biology. Usually we try to build robots that think like us.
Right, trying to mimic the human brain.
But in this case, we realized we think like the robots. In AI reinforcement learning, researchers realized that algorithms perform much, much better if they don't just predict the average outcome.
What do they do instead?
They perform better if they predict the distribution of outcomes.
Distribution here meaning the full spread of possibilities.
Yes. Instead of saying the result will likely be X, the AI maps out the full range. It says there's a 10% chance of a disaster, a 50% chance of a mediocre result, and a 40% chance of a jackpot.
It sees the edges of the river, not just the average depth.
Exactly.
So the AI isn't just saying this is a good move, it's giving you a probability map. It's essentially playing 4D chess while we thought it was playing checkers.
It is. And the researchers at DeepMind, along with their collaborators at Harvard, asked the simple but really profound question. If this is the most efficient way for a machine to learn about the world, surely evolution would have stumbled upon it too.
Does the brain use this same code?
Exactly.
So they went looking for it. And they looked at mice, right?
They did. They monitored individual dopamine neurons in mice while giving them rewards of different sizes and probabilities. Sometimes a little juice, sometimes a lot, sometimes none.
It was a gambling game for mice.
Pretty much.
Oh, no.
And they looked at how the neurons reacted.
And here is the twist that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
Under the old theory, all the neurons should have been singing the same note, shouting the average. But that's not what they found.
No, they found massive diversity. They found that the dopamine system is not a soloist, it's a choir.
Let's talk about the sections of this choir. Who are the singers?
Well, first you have what we might call the optimistic neurons.
Got glass half full neurons. The hype men.
Very much so. These neurons cared almost exclusively about the upside. They amplified positive surprises like getting a huge reward, and they largely ignored negative surprises.
They're betting on the jackpot.
Exactly. If you only listened to them, you'd think the world was full of free cookies and winning lottery tickets.
But if we only had them, we'd probably walk right off a cliff thinking we could fly. So we need the buzzkills.
The pessimistic neurons. These cells were highly sensitive to the downside. If the reward was less than expected, they reacted strongly.
They ignored the jackpots.
Yes, they focused on the failures. They are your risk managers. They are the ones warning you about the 10-foot drop in the river.
I really love the choir analogy. It's such a beautiful image. In the old view, we thought dopamine was a room full of people chanting the exact same word in unison. That gives you volume, but it doesn't give you detail.
Right. What Dabney and his team found is that by having the bass section singing the low notes, the pessimistic predictions, and the sopranos singing the high notes, the optimistic predictions, the brain creates a rich 3D map of the future.
And this is what we call distributional reinforcement learning.
You got it.
So when I'm standing there debating whether to buy a crypto coin or put my money in a boring savings account, my brain isn't just giving me a simple thumbs up or thumbs down.
No. Your brain is running a complex probability algorithm. Your optimistic neurons are screaming, "We're going to be rich! To the moon!" And your pessimistic neurons are saying, "You're going to lose your savings and live in a cardboard box."
And my final decision depends on how those voices harmonize.
Precisely.
That is incredible. It implies that we are constantly simulating parallel futures. It's very Dr. Strange.
And it suggests that having a diverse portfolio of neurons is essential for survival. You need the risk takers and the safety seekers to function.
Makes total sense.
But, and this is a big transition, we have to talk about the other side of the coin. We've talked about prediction and thinking. Now we have to talk about moving.
Right. Because when I think of dopamine, and I think most people are like this, I think of energy, I think of the go button. If you have low dopamine, like in Parkinson's disease, you have trouble moving.
Right.
So naturally, more dopamine must mean faster, more vigorous movement, like a gas pedal.
That is the intuitive view. More dopamine equals more speed. But we have a paper here from Nature Neuroscience, published just recently in 2025 by Liu and Trich from McGill University, that throws a major wrench in that idea.
I was reading this and it really surprised me. They were looking at sub-second fluctuations in dopamine in mice. And they found what exactly?
They found that rapid changes in dopamine levels, those spikes we were just talking about with the latte, did not correlate with how fast or forcefully the mouse moved.
Wait, so if dopamine goes up, the mouse doesn't run faster?
Not in the moment. The spikes didn't track with the vigor of the action. This challenges the gas pedal theory.
Because if it were a gas pedal, pressing it harder would immediately rev the engine.
Exactly. But that's not what they saw.
So if it's not the gas pedal, what is it? Because we know we need it to move. If you deplete dopamine, you freeze.
The researchers propose it's more like the oil in the engine.
Okay, let's unpack that. Gas versus oil.
Think about a car. You need oil for the engine to run. If you drain the oil, the engine seizes up. You can't move.
Right.
That's what happens in Parkinson's. Dopamine levels drop so low that movement becomes difficult or impossible to initiate. The engine is seized.
And I see where you're going. If I have a full tank of oil, adding more oil doesn't make the car go 100 miles per hour.
Exactly. Once you have enough oil to run the system, dumping more in doesn't increase your speed. It just maintains the machinery.
Wow.
The study suggests that baseline dopamine levels are permissive. They give you the green light to move. But those rapid spikes are doing something else.
And that something else brings us back to the choir, doesn't it?
It does. There is a concept mentioned in our source stack called the learning primacy hypothesis, discussed by Long and Mathmanides.
Okay.
It suggests that those rapid bursts of dopamine are primarily for updating your mental maps, fixing the choir's sheet music, so to speak, rather than controlling your muscles second by second.
So to recap this mechanism, you need a steady baseline of dopamine, the oil, to move at all. But the spikes, those are for learning and prediction.
Precisely. And this distinction, oil versus gas, is critical when we look at how we treat diseases. Because if we treat the brain like we're just stomping on a gas pedal, we run into trouble.
Let's talk about Parkinson's disease. This is the most famous dopamine-related condition. As we said, the engine runs out of oil.
Right? The dopamine neurons die off. And the gold standard treatment for decades has been levodopa. Essentially, levodopa is a chemical precursor that the brain turns into dopamine. We're manually restocking the oil.
Which sounds like the exact right thing to do.
It is, but the problem is delivery. A healthy brain releases dopamine in a very controlled, tonic way. When we take a pill, we can't replicate that. So patients get these massive floods of dopamine, followed by droughts.
And if we go back to the choir analogy, it's like someone suddenly turning the volume knob up to 11, then down to 0.
And physically, this manifests as dyskinesia, those uncontrolled, jerky movements you often see in patients on long-term medication.
Right.
In our oil versus gas analogy, it's like we overfilled the engine and the pressure is going haywire. The system doesn't know how to handle the surplus.
But there is some hope on the horizon in this stack. I was looking at the reports on a new drug called tabapidone.
Yes, this is very interesting. Tabapidone works differently. It's known as a partial agonist.
I always get tripped up on agonist. Can we get the quick explainer on that?
Sure. Think of a standard drug, or even natural dopamine as a light switch. You flip it, the light goes on full blast. That's a full agonist.
Got it.
A partial agonist is like a dimmer switch that has a stopper on it. It turns the activity up, but it has a built-in ceiling. It can't go to 100%.
So it prevents the surge.
Exactly. It maintains a steady level of dopamine activity. It keeps the oil pressure constant without allowing those massive spikes that cause the jerky movements. It provides the permission to move without the chaotic side effects.
That is a game changer. It's treating the system with so much more nuance. Instead of more is better, it's balance is better.
And that theme of balance applies even more when we look at the psychiatric side, specifically schizophrenia.
This is the heavy hitter. So in schizophrenia, we often see hallucinations, delusions, or disorganized thinking. How does Acquire explain that?
Well, imagine if your optimistic neurons, the ones that amplify positive signals and find patterns, started singing way, way too loud.
You'd start seeing patterns where there aren't any.
Exactly. You might interpret a random glance from a stranger as a profound signal or a conspiracy, You might hear a noise, and your brain predicts a voice.
Wow.
That is essentially what a hallucination or a delusion is. It's an over-prediction of meaning. The choir is singing a song that isn't there,
But then there are also negative symptoms in schizophrenia, right? Withdrawal, lack of motivation.
which could be the pessimistic neurons dominating, or simply the optimistic ones burning out or being drowned out. This is why treating schizophrenia is so hard.
Because it's a balancing act.
Right. If you just block dopamine completely, which is what older antipsychotics did, you shut down the whole choir.
You silence the hallucinations, but you also silence the motivation. You drain the oil so the person feels like a zombie.
Correct. But the sources highlight newer drugs like cariprazine and brexpiprazole. These are also partial agonists.
The dimmer switches again?
Yes. They are fascinating because they act like a buffer. If dopamine is too high causing the hallucinations, they occupy the receptors and bring the activity down. But if dopamine is too low, causing the apathy, they stimulate the receptors just enough to keep the system running.
They retune the choir.
They try to. They dampen the screeching sopranos without silencing the whole group.
Yeah.
It's a much more sophisticated way to handle the brain's chemical complexity.
It really feels like we are moving out of the sledgehammer era of neuroscience and into the tuning fork era.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to that original study by DeepMind. The brain isn't a simple input-output machine. It's a probabilistic engine. It is constantly calculating the odds.
So let's wrap this up and look at the big picture. We started with the idea that dopamine is just a pleasure hit. We've ended up with a neural choir, engine oil, and AI algorithms. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But if you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this. Your brain is a prediction machine. It evolved to navigate a dangerous, uncertain world.
Right.
It didn't evolve just to tell you this is good or this is bad. It evolved to tell you this might be good, but watch out for the drop-off.
That distributional learning.
Yes. By maintaining that diversity, the optimists and the pessimists, your brain gives you a survival edge. It allows you to take risks when the odds are good and hunker down when they aren't. It's likely why humans have been so successful. We are incredibly good at betting on the future.
It makes me wonder about my own decisions. When I decide to skip the gym, or buy that expensive gadget, or text an ex who is driving the bus.
Or who is singing the solo.
Exactly. So here is a thought for you to carry with you today. The next time you are standing on the edge of a decision, whether it's taking a new job, asking someone out, or just ordering the mystery item on the menu, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is that you thinking? Or is the bass section of your dopamine choir singing just a little too loud today?
Or maybe those optimistic sopranos are promising a jackpot that isn't really there.
Listen to the whole choir, people. Thanks for stopping by the Deep Dive Lab. If you want to keep your neural algorithm sharp, hit that subscribe button.
Keep listening to the choir. See you next time.